Hello, everyone, and welcome to virtual Eldora Speedway here for round 9 in season 2 of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. I'm Hannah Newhouse, joined as always by Rusty Walrus. And Rusty, we are taking it to the dirt track of Eldora Speedway to kick off segment 3 here in the Pro League. We saw tons of action last week to crown and punch those tickets for a couple of our drivers. And I think that we are going to be in for a lot of racing action and a lot of excitement on the dirt track this evening.
Yeah, my heart is already racing. As you said, this is a brand new segment. The points are reset to 0, but that does not mean the excitement stops. The excitement has never been higher than it is right now. We're coming away from Atlanta, arguably the most dramatic race we've had all season. Legit rivalries have taken place on and off the track that are carrying over today, and now we're headed to Eldora, like you said. The first time ever we're going to get in the dirt and slip and slide, probably into each other. Get some emotions flaring. And I saw on Twitter that the virtual Tony Stewart got the track prep for us and ready to go. So I think we're going to see an unbelievable show here tonight.
Hey, if anyone's good at track prep, and especially on those dirt tracks, it's the owner himself of Tony Stewart. So cool to have him involved in all of the festivities. And like you said, what a better place to get these tempers flaring and putting them on a track surface. We have not raced on dirt yet this year. We've been to the super speedways, we've been to the short tracks, and we've been to the road courses. And now we are going to go dirt track racing. So we've got a lot in store for you guys this evening. We'll kick things off here with the Xbox and PlayStation drivers. And we'll show you guys here our line of events. So you take a look there. First, we'll roll off with the Xbox guys at roughly 8 after 8. Green flag there following shortly after. And that PlayStation race set to roll off at roughly 8:45. So both of those races looking to be full of excitement this evening. And again, if you guys were able to join us last week, again, we had so much fun last week in crowning and punching those tickets at Atlanta. Tempers flared. We saw it all over social media after as well. And now we've got 2 more drivers, like you said, Rusty, punched their way into the championship finale, but we really only have a couple more spots left.
Yeah, this is the third and final segment. So one of these guys have got to step up to the occasion. Kyle Arnold has put himself in position to win a segment, but he has yet to close the deal. I'm looking for him to be impressive here today and start the segment right.
Well, that being said, all of that action at Atlanta, if you didn't join us last week, take a look here at what you guys missed.
Tried a new strategy, got with a few different people this time, gathered some new notes, and we learned a lot of different things off of some of the community through some of the posts and asking people for some advice and stuff. And yeah, it's come a long way.
Going in, I knew if I'd win, I was in. But I was also, you're still thinking, okay, if I finish second, where does everybody else got to finish? When you do something the first time, people like to say it's a fluke. So that's my big thing is I just wanted to not only prove to everybody else, but to prove to myself I can still do it.
You never want to let the guys in the field know exactly what you have, you know what I mean? So when I come in and practice, even when I do show up, don't expect a whole lot because typically we're just testing.
When you're on that last lap and there's not only 2,000 on the line, but you're racing, for survival, you're going to move somebody out of the way. You're all going for the same piece of real estate.
Contact made, car up the track. That was Harbin, crashes hard. Coming to the checkered flag for a segment win, Brandon Britton.
If that win stands, man, I will spend the rest of the league reckoning.
You will not win this championship, I promise you.
They said the same thing last year, and I told them the same thing. I'm going to say now. You have to catch me first.
Cross the stripe. Oh, 3 wide, car into the air. The Oscar Mayer, number 6 of Walker, claims the win, Rusty.
It's been a struggle for sure, but to have gotten some notes together and to come off with the win on with those notes, I'm going to try to carry some of that forward, and hopefully we can seal the deal.
We're going out there to just strictly win money. That's the goal now, and get our sponsors that spotlight they deserve.
Well, Brandon Britton collected that win and punched his ticket, and you saw Nick Walker there. He won that race, but it was Daniel Buttafuoco who punched his ticket to the championship race. That date and track yet to be confirmed. So far we've got Justin Brooks locked in. We have Maxwell Castro locked in from segment 1. Buttafuoco and Britton, you saw it there, punched their way now into the championship finale. The chances are winding down, and hey, you heard from Kyle Arnold there, Rusty. Britton has kind of got a target on his back now. So fortunately for him, he, like he said, is only racing for money.
Yeah, Gritton, that couldn't have happened better for him to lock into the championship because Kyle Arnold's got the pressure on him now, but I love the confidence, kind of the swagger that's coming from the champion of Brandon Gritton here today, and I want to see how much fun they're going to have out here on the dirt at Eldora.
Hey, every race season has to have that bad boy, and I feel like Brandon Gritton has claimed that. But speaking of Kyle Arnold, we're going to talk to him here pre-race, get him dialed up, and talk a little bit about now his last chance here in segment 3. So Kyle, first off, thanks for joining us here before the race.
I appreciate for having me on.
So you were so close there in segment 2. We saw your frustration after the race in Atlanta. How are you feeling about going here into segment 3 with one of really the last chances to punch a ticket to the championship race besides the wild card race?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like the first 2 segments, I was muted there. I feel like the first 2 segments was basically, how is Red going to lose this one? So, coming in really confident tonight. Had a lot of the dirt legends, Charlie, Moot Dude, a lot of those guys on, David Wallace and Dr. Bobby. We put a lot of time into this one. We got a very, very solid piece for tonight. And main thing is just keeping the truck straight. Not getting damaged. So just take our time. We got a very, very good long run truck.
And I know you've got this racetrack circle on your calendar. I talked to you coming into the season, Eldora, even specifically segment 3. How you had practice races this week? How are you feeling coming out of the practice? What have you been seeing from the other drivers? What do you expect on the racetrack today?
I expect there may be a couple of cautions. It'll be early on. Once things get straightened out, I know there's some trucks that's had some really good speed in them up front. The longer the run, I seem to be a little better. I'm trying a new one tonight, though. I tested it a couple of times. Ain't ran it in the actual lobby yet, so we'll see what it does, but I think it's dialed in and ready.
And we can't leave this subject, unfortunately, untouched here. After the race last week, you and Brandon Gritton, we saw it in our preview video here. Definitely some frustration there. Little banter back and forth between yourself and the voice of Stewart Haas Racing. Has some of that emotion blown over now? Or is there a little animosity still that you think will carry over to the rest of the season? And hey, especially tonight as we bang some quarter panels here on Eldora.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get on Twitter, you got fake Jake. I mean, he is a certified troll, so he's good at what he does. He can make anybody mad. He can make a brick wall mad at him. So, he's doing his job. As for me and Brandon, we've talked a couple of times. I mean, we've ran races all week long and kept it off each other. So, we got a lot of quick cars out there tonight. So, yeah, I don't think you'll see anything crazy. I think if you do see something crazy, it's going to be when the big money's on the line and when you make somebody's back pocket hurt. Not $2,000, but $30,000.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Kyle, again, good luck this evening, and we're looking forward to watching the race.
Yeah, thank y'all.
That's Kyle Arnold. And again, we talked about it a little bit in the beginning. You saw a little bit of a glimpse of that Xbox race, but if you did miss last week's Xbox race in Atlanta, take a look last time out.
It's the Xbox One gamers trying to lock in one more driver to the championship finale. As they line up along the inside, Dohar takes him up the banking a little bit, but Afuko moving toward the front. That's good news for his championship contention.
This is as close as you can race to each other in this game without causing an incident.
Brooks goes down onto the apron, comes up on the track, they crash into the wall. Oh, this shakes everything up. And Brooks frustrated, lower left of the screen, and now the field slowing in front of him. Look out, Brooks up into the wall in a hard crash. This may take him out of contention.
Oh, you guys, you better stop that blocking crap. I'm tired of that crap.
But Afuko may be in the wrong line, but if he keeps it clean and in the right direction, he's going to be in good shape. In fact, a great run on the outside lane. Tedeschi has an opening to the bottom. This could spell trouble right in front of Afuko. Cross the stripe. Oh! 3 wide car into the air, but Afuko will finish third, it looks like. Brooks goes over again. The Oscar Mayer, number 6 of Walker, claims the win, Rusty.
Hot diggity dog, what do you know? We finally got us one. See that right there? You're watching for it, because it's coming.
We are segment 2 winners of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. We are racing for a championship, that's right. Dream come true, and I hope we can keep this throughout the season. Thank you.
Well, I'm thinking we need some hot diggity dog Nick Walker t-shirts. Pretty little catchy phrase he's got there for his Oscar Mayer Wienermobile. But if you ever wanted all access to what all of these eNASCAR Heat Pro League drivers are thinking, we have it here in this Zoom chat. You can see everyone hanging out, getting ready for the race. A lot of different camera angles that we've got going on here, Rusty. Apparently they've given them little creative flexibility with their camera angles.
Yeah, I love these onboard cameras. You can kind of see maybe a little bit of nervous showing through, maybe some confidence. Some guys are having fun, just a whole mix of emotions coming into this race at Eldora.
Well, pace laps are underway here at Eldora. Let's take a look here at what this race is going to consist of. 90 laps in total, 3 times the tire wear, and full damage here on this half mile. That's going to be a tough little turn to take here in the race. And we'll take a look at the starting lineup once again as well here for your Xbox drivers. On your front row, Justin Brooks, his 5th pole of the season so far. Outside of him, Daniel Buttafuoco. In row 2, Matthew Selby, and outside of him, Nick Walker.
And row 3, we're looking at Slade Gravett and Diego Alvarado. Row 4, Louis Zader from Chip Ganassi Gaming and Brian Tedeschi.
And in row 5, Matthew Keel and Riley Ogle. Row 6 is Tyler Dohar and Sam Morris. And then rounding out that final row of row 7, in the tail end of the field here, Jordan McGraw and Jose Ruiz. So again, all these drivers are going to have to be patient. Rusty, any final thoughts here before we get ready to take the green at Eldora?
I want to see these guys go for it, take the gloves off, and do a full send all day, every lap. I can't wait to see what they do here.
Well, green flag is in the air here at Eldora. There you can hear it. Green flag is in the air. These drivers now, Justin Brooks there with the jump. Everyone going to be patient here, hopefully, on this first lap.
And you can see Matthew Selby isn't wasting any time to get to the bottom and move Justin Brooks up out of the way. You saw the emotion already flaring the first corner into the race, but I'm loving what I'm seeing already. Matthew Selby from Stuart Haas Gaming, they've kind of unleashed their drivers, and you're seeing he's ready to take control of this thing early on.
And what I love about this is exactly what these trucks look like in real life at Eldora. Everything is slowed down. It's all about the handling of these cars. But Justin Brooks was on that front row position, has slipped back to the 3rd spot, so he rides behind Daniel Buttafuoco. We see it each and every week, Rusty. These two cannot get away from each other. They qualified on the front row together. I guarantee we will see them race almost together the entire time.
Yeah, it's been Buttafuoco and Brooks, the heavyweight battle all season. Justin Brooks has led 150 plus laps in the season. Buttafuoco about 100, so they're going to be up front in contention. As you can see them already reeling in Matthew Selby here, but the key early on is to kind of get in a groove, start finding a comfort zone and clicking laps, keeping the car pointed straight, as you kind of see the guys starting to get a little bit single file. But once they get confident, I believe you're going to start seeing them send it a little bit more and more and more as we continue.
A little contact there. Brian Tedeschi got into the back of Diego Alvarado, but everyone able to keep it going, keep those trucks pointed as straight as you can here on the dirt track of Eldora. But again, if you are a dirt racer, you do realize that most of the time you almost go right to go left. It's a little different here at Eldora with these trucks. For the most part, they set them up to be slick asphalt trucks. So they're still turning a right a little bit, but for the most part, these are, again, still asphalt racing trucks. So there's not a ton that they can do to be able to get that weight to roll over. And so hence why I think we're seeing them race at the bottom of the racetrack right now. And Rusty, I know you've been able to play this as well. Do you expect that maybe we'll see them creep their way up the racetrack?
The focus is definitely going to be on them on the racetrack, but once they start to just get more confidence and maybe try to make up more ground than they can, you'll start to see them maybe get a little bit sideways and invite somebody on the inside. And you're gonna start to see some content and guys go about 2-3 wide, just due to stacking up, due to people just getting in the way, because things can happen so fast in here at Eldora. Once I think we're gonna see it multiple times where when a car gets sideways, the whole field's going to stack up on them, and you're going to see people have to go high to get around them.
There's a battle breaking out there between Riley Ogle and Tyler Dohar. Dohar to the inside there, makes that move. and continues to run side by side. It's so difficult at the moment with the conditions of the racetrack, like you mentioned, Rusty, to run side by side, but people are going to start getting a little impatient. It's such a tough racetrack to be able to pass on without being aggressive and making that contact. And again, we've got tempers that are flaring over from the previous race in Atlanta. This resets for a lot of these guys. So right now, the only ones from the Xbox platform that are locked into our championship race are Daniel Buttafuoco and Justin Brooks. So it's a free-for-all for the rest of the field, knowing that they've got the 3 races during this segment. And we're going to throw them a wild card here at the beginning of the segment, racing here tonight at Eldora. But so far, Selby, again, your leader. But we're riding along here with Diego Alvarado running for Richard Petty Esports. He's tailing Walker, and Walker's really come out of himself as well this season. Usually not the best of qualifiers, but he's found a little nick for qualifying recently and seems to be running here at the front of the field more recently, Rusty.
Yeah, Walker's definitely found something with the setups and definitely in his confidence. And as we were riding on board there with Diego Alvarado, you can kind of get a feel for what these drivers are experiencing as they're driving these trucks at Eldora in the game. Naturally, out of the box, the trucks are pretty tight, and you gotta really loosen them up to make the corner and kind of get it to kind of cover on the bottom. But the way they got these cars set up, you can see they keep it about as straight as you can. It's very finesse to be able to do what they're able to do to point it on the bottom here. But that is the key in the game, is to kind of keep it straight. Even though you're sliding sideways on the dirt, you got to keep it straight and get the gas pointed out and get the thing pointed straight and get the gas out of the corner.
Just like a slick asphalt setup there, like you've mentioned. But Buttafuoco, you see here, rides in that second spot. You can see him in your lower portion of your screen. You mentioned it, Rusty. He's putting little to no wheel input in there. I mean, it's just letting the kind of truck go where it wants to go. It's that finesse, because here a quick movement can be the end all. It can send your truck spinning around. So everyone being real soft on the wheel. Honestly, though, take a look at Matthew Selby, though. We just saw him there a second ago. His wheel input is a lot more drastic. It's a lot more choppy, but he's been able to fend off Daniel Buttafuoco thus far.
Yeah, you can see the difference between Selby and Buttafuoco, but in the game you can actually kind of customize the dead zone and the wheel input that to kind of play into your preference as a driver. So Matthew Selby, he might have a really big dead zone, so that way when he's like kind of doing the little finesse moves, it's not really making many adjustments with the wheels on the track, whereas Buttafuoco, he's got that thing completely opposite. So every little just little minor movement is going to play an impact in the truck. So it just comes down to preference and what these guys like to feel on the racetrack.
Well, 73 laps to go here at Eldora. Again, everyone's single file at the moment. Tyler Dohar, though, one that we've been watching on and off throughout the race thus far. He's been the one that's getting that truck a little bit sideways more so than others. He currently runs in that 10th position. And again, right now, Buttafuoco and Brooks, the only ones that have been locked in. So it's anyone's points at the moment to start this new segment off. And we've got 3 races this round, then that wild card race shortly after that, where someone will punch a ticket there, and then that championship finale. And we heard about it from Kyle Arnold there. When they win one of these races, Rusty, it's $2,000 in their pocket. But that championship finale of almost $30,000, I mean, the drivers this year in the Pro League are making a pretty good little payout here.
Yeah, that's been one of the topics of debate. What is motivating these drivers to maybe be a little bit aggressive, maybe push it harder than they should be, because the money plays a very, very big factor. That's how these drivers are essentially getting paid. And last week, it paid $2,000 to win, but like you said, the championship race, there's a $60,000 prize pool on the line. So right here in segment 3, we're in race 1 of segment 3. Each one of these races plays into that factor to win the segment, to get to that point. So a lot of money and a lot of stakes each and every week here in the NASCAR Heat Pro League, and that's why I've been saying, like, the excitement, the drama, the rivalries keep ramping up because they feel it in the pocketbook when the checker flag flies and they get moved up out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's cool to see the diversity that we have here in the Pro League too. As far as age, you've got some young drivers as young as like 18, 17 years old, and then you've got some older drivers. Like, what do some of these drivers do with $2,000? I mean, for example, I giggle when I think of Slade Gravett, one of our drivers in the Pro League, with an extra $2,000. So it's so cool, the drivers that we have here. But Tyler Dohar in that 88 for Junior Motorsports, again, a returner here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, makes a move to the bottom, and he's trying to make that bottom work. And we see it more often than not. You do not want to get stuck on the outside, but a crossover move from Sam Morris. Sam Morris got stuck on the high groove, tried to make a crossover on Tyler Dohar. unable to make it work. So now Sam Morris under fire from Lewis Zader.
Yeah, that is the beauty of dirt racing when you can get the crossovers going and sending sliders on them. I'm loving this. We're seeing Alvarado make a move on Walker for 5th place. So Alvarado making moves early. And we're still seeing some aggression here back in the pack with Sam Morris, Lewis Zader. This is, I'm kind of curious when they're going to start flipping the switch and getting into each other and maybe pressing the issue on making passes and maybe putting people into the wall and in the barrels.
And 65 laps to go. Again, everyone, like you mentioned, I think that we'll start to see them get a little bit more impatient and really fire things up later on in the race. This is still a very long race. When do you think that we will see these drivers make their way down pit road for fuel?
Well, so this race is actually different than every single race on the schedule. These drivers will not hit pit road for fuel or tires, period. The only time they're coming down pit road here tonight is to repair some fenders and fix some damage because the damage is full and every little contact plays into a part with your aerodynamics, the handling your car. So if your truck gets beat up on a pass or somebody moves you out of the way, you're going to come down pit road and get it fixed and probably lose some track position. But that's the only time I expect guys hitting pit road today is to repair the sheet metal.
So something different that we've seen than any of the other races. Again, most of our races do have that fuel strategy, being forced to come down pit road. And if you haven't been able to join us for all of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League races thus far, don't worry. You can catch us each and every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern on MAV TV, where all the eNASCAR Heat Pro League races will air. It's been cool to have them aired on MAV TV. To get this platform for these drivers. And I know it means a lot for their sponsorship as well, because these guys are professionals. They represent their teams and their sponsors to a whole different level. I mean, they're repping their apparel. They've got the nice backdrops. It's so cool to see the professional aspect that we've brought here. But Daniel Buttafuoco, again, now to the back bumper of Selby. So a battle for the lead is heating up. And Justin Brooks wants a piece of it, Rusty.
Yeah, Justin Brooks and Buttafuoco got him right where they want him. Just maybe clicking laps a little bit here, but the front of the field is so competitive. They're just that close in lap times. If you looked at qualifying here today, the field is basically separated by a 10th. So that just shows you how close they are. But it's picking up here for the lead. I think Buttafuoco is getting ready to move Selby up out of the way, and Brooks is ready to pounce.
And you said it there, Daniel Buttafuoco now to the inside. Contact there with Matthew Selby. Gets him a little sideways in the corner, but Selby able to keep it grounded. Still holds that lead position, so Buttafuoco will try it again. Into the corner here. Oh, hits him in the right rear quarter panel. Again, Selby able to hold on to it for that. So Justin Brooks now just sitting, waiting for these two to almost wreck each other. But Buttafuoco lost some ground there on that lap, so he'll have to reset and refire here if he wants to take another shot at Selby.
And here's the fun part of it we haven't even talked about yet. Lap traffic is going to play a major factor, as it looks like they're eventually going to catch up on the field here, and that's going to get in the way, maybe the preferred groove of these leaders, and it's going to make them pick different lines and maybe get a little bit aggressive to take advantage of an opportunity. So we're running on board here with Buttafuoco, and he's just kind of still picking his spots, taking his time with Selby, because you can see Selby kind of making mistakes, sliding the tires, getting up high, whereas Buttafuoco is kind of keeping it nice and straight. So ooh, maybe a little contact from Brooks in the back end there. Maybe a little damage. That might loosen up that truck.
And I love that we see the Ford Performance on the side of that race mode, or that race truck. Oh, and around goes Buttafuoco, contact with Brooks. So that will bring out the caution here at Eldora. That just shook up our top 5. Looks like he was able to keep it going, though, in that 3rd spot. But, man, contact between Brooks and Buttafuoco.
I'm curious how much damage happened to Brooks and Buttafuoco there. They might have to come down pit road to get it fixed. But that was one of the danger zones, is on the exit of 4, when you get a little bit sideways and you get turned from behind, you could end up in those barrels and do a lot of damage. I'm just I'm interested to see how this thing shakes up after this pit stop.
Well, with the yellow out, like you mentioned, someone may decide to come down, fix some quarter panels, or make some adjustments. So with that yellow out, we have 54 laps to go here at Eldora with the Xbox race. Stick around, though. We've got a PlayStation race coming up not long after. And those guys are always the wild card, Rusty. We're never really sure what to expect from them on the racetrack.
Yeah, the competition each and every week on the PlayStation 4 side, somehow it tends to increase and ramp itself up. It's unbelievable. But don't sleep on the Xbox drivers. The competition has also increased throughout the season as more and more drivers have come up to the front of the field. And it sounds like the top 7 have stayed out on the racetrack. No repairs to their car, no adjustments. They're taking the track position, and they're taking advantage of it right now.
Well, you mentioned the top 7, but Justin Brooks is scored in the 11th spot, and he is part of caution is back out. So Justin Brooks was scored in the 11th spot there with this caution flying. You have to wonder if he maybe went down pit road, some damage that he acquired from that contact with Daniel Buttafuoco. So a caution is back out, 50 laps to go here at Eldora. Current running order: Matthew Selby, Slade Gravett, Nick Walker, Matthew Heel, and Daniel Buttafuoco, your top 5.
And we just saw a really quick yellow right there. I mean, we see it at some of these short tracks and at dirt tracks. Cautions kind of breed cautions. I'm curious now that they got some confidence, maybe their adrenaline's up. Maybe I think we might be setting ourselves up for an even more aggressive race pace going forward. But I believe the 22 there, we might have saw it at the end of this. At the end of the clip, the 22 might be off the track for repairs.
And we've got them re-racked here. So again, they have the opportunity to go down pit road and make some of those repairs. Tedeschi being in the 22. You can see here, green flag is now once again in the air at Eldora. So your front row of Selby and Slade Gravett side by side. Gravett trying to get his way down to the bottom. Will he clear himself as it's 3 wide behind him for that 3rd place spot?
I'm loving how Slade Gravett is driving this thing. He's one of the cleanest and smoothest drivers out there. So I'm curious how he's going to work the back bumper of the 4-car here. He is coming over from the PlayStation 4 side from Season 1. He made the move over to Xbox for Season 2, and he for Wood Brothers Gaming, and he's right there. He's already picked up 1 win this season, and he just seems to find his way up at the front each and every week. Last week at Atlanta, he was lead laps, kind of got robbed late, but he's here to show he wants to be a championship contender. He wants to pick up these points in this final segment, and he's impressive here at Eldora here tonight.
And I feel like we definitely can't dismiss Selby. I mean, Matthew Selby has really turned it on tonight. He's been continuing to improve the last couple races, and right now it's been his race thus far. I mean, you can see him again at the bottom of your screen with his in-car camera there. Matthew Selby's been impressive thus far in being able to keep a seasoned veteran, which is so crazy to say at how young Slade Gravett is, but a seasoned veteran here in the Pro League behind him.
Yes, Matthew Selby does have a lot of league experience. He's been playing these NASCAR heat games for years, and but the trick he's working on right now is just putting his truck in the perfect spot so it makes it really tough to pass. And as long as he doesn't make a mistake, it's going to be very challenging for Slade Gravett to get around. And we saw Buttafuoco kind of get a little antsy, maybe stuff his nose in there when Selby did make a mistake. So I'm curious how they're going to get around Selby. And as we discussed earlier, these Stewart Haas esports drivers, they're going for it. They don't care about hurting feelings. They're going for checker flags, and this is going to be an interesting battle between one of the cleanest drivers and one of the dirtiest drivers.
Yeah, when you've got the voice of Stewart Haas esports there, Jake Morris, in your ear, you're definitely tempted to get a little rowdy. Again, we love the conversation on Twitter that Jake Morris brings for Stewart Haas. He's just constantly adding fuel to the fire. Brandon Gritton has wholeheartedly embraced that. Now I think it is Selby's turn. So like you said, it's the good guy versus, I don't want to say the bad guy, but Matthew Selby there in that front running spot there for Stewart Haas. And Jake Morris just eats it up. So 40 laps to go here at Eldora. Daniel Buttafuoco and Justin Brooks, would you look at it? They have found each other once again here on the racetrack. 5th and 6th, they've both been lower than 10th at one point during this race. They started on the front row. Quickly, Rusty, these two are making their way back to the front.
Yeah, after that incident on our first yellow day, they came down and repaired the damage. So that's how they lost the track position, but they're keeping it clean. They're moving their way forward here as we got a little bit of a 2-3 car battle up here. 3rd, 4th, 5th place between Tyler Dohar and Matthew Heel. The action is picking up with only 30 laps to go. But I want to mention, even though Buttafuoco and Brooks have locked their way into the championship, they can still play offense and win the segment themselves and kind of put the pressure on the other drivers to take the season total of points to be able to punch their way in. So just because they're in doesn't mean they're letting off the pedal and not pressing as hard as they can to win these races and collect as many points as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard from Justin Brooks multiple times throughout the season. He's not content with having already punched his championship ticket. Like you said, it's an extra $2,000 for every race he wins. And he wants the bragging rights of maybe winning another segment here in the Pro League and making it that much tougher on his competitors to punch their way into that championship finale. So Brooks with Buttafuoco on his tail. They're now maneuvering some of this traffic in front of him, being Tyler Dohar. Again, we watched Dohar earlier on in the race as well, was around that 7th, 8th position. And Dohar is now up to the 3rd third spot, so they're going to have to try and reel in Slade Gravett. But right now, Dohar more focused on his rear view mirror as Justin Brooks looks to make a move.
Yeah, Dohar definitely had this track circled on his schedule this season. He's going to be a strong competitor, even though Brooks is on the inside and he's one of the best. Tyler Dohar is going to give him a really strong fight here on the outside. As you're able to see, even though the bottom is the preferred line, you can make the outside work and kind of keep the car on keep the truck on the outside of the other competitor to kind of kill their momentum, kind of kill their line, and put some pressure on them to hopefully not wash up into you and give each other some damage. But as you can see right here, Brooks did make the pass, and Brooks is working his way forward back up into the top 3.
I might have to sponsor Justin Brooks with one of those nifty little, ring lights to get a little light on top of his steering wheel there so we can see him. It's a little dark inside the race truck of Justin Brooks, but like you mentioned, able to maneuver his way around Tyler Dohar. Now sits in that third spot. So Justin Brooks is going to get to navigate his attention to your front runners of Selby and Gravett with 32 laps to go. And Rusty, I think he's got the momentum. He was able to maneuver traffic so quickly, make his way through the field. It's going to be just a matter of a few laps until he catches Gravett and Selby. And then it may be Justin Brooks' race to win.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the leaderboard here. As you can see, he's cut the deficit down to under 2 seconds. Slade Gravett about back a second behind Selby. So as we saw earlier in the race, Selby has been leading all the laps, but it kind of is going to come down between Brooks and Buttafuoco as this naturally plays out. And once Brooks gets there, what is he going to do to get around Selby? What is he willing to do? He does have 4 wins. He wants to get a 5th. He has 5 poles, and he definitely wants the 5th win. But as you can see, lap by lap, inch by inch, he is closing the gap on Matthew Selby and Slade Gravett in front of him.
And there's no doubt that that Daniel Buttafuoco and Justin Brooks have been the standouts thus far in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League Season 2. But looking for a breakthrough win this season is Matthew Selby. So he's going to do everything he possibly can to keep those drivers behind him. And he's been able to do so thus far in the race, led a majority of the laps so far. Slade Gravett was on his back bumper not but a handful of laps ago, and he's lost some track position. So he'll be under fire from Justin Brooks here shortly. Justin Brooks again making his way through the field, but Selby a good run here tonight, looking to tee up with his Stewart-Haas Esports teammate Brandon Gritton, who won Atlanta and punched his ticket last week on the PlayStation platform. So Matthews decided that it's his turn, but we ride along here with Daniel Buttafuoco. Buttafuoco again so strong in the preseason, has now locked his way in as well. He has caught Tyler Dohar, and it's his turn to get around Dohar, but he's been able to do so thus far, Rusty. He's having a little bit more of a difficult time than we saw Justin Brooks. Could it be that the tire wear and the handling of these trucks is just continually starting to slip, being that we haven't had regulated pit stops?
Yeah, I think a little bit of the factor that's playing in here is the guys are getting more comfortable. They're trying to be a little bit more aggressive, and they're just pushing it more and more hard as the race is winding down here. I mean, earlier on in the race, you're just trying to kind of keep it clean, but when you're down to 25 to go, that's not that many laps, and you're seeing Buttafuoco be on it and reel in Dohar here, but they're just very impressive, and I've just been thoroughly impressed by Matthew Selby leading the race. He is the Stewart-Haas Esports driver. He's at Tony Stewart's track. He's looking for his first win ever. This is a pretty good story coming for the driver of the 4 here today. I'm happy for Matthew Selby. It's been a struggle. He's had some bad luck, had some incidents, some run-ins, some rivalries, but Selby is pulling away on Slade Gravett right now late in this race.
And with 23 laps to go, this is exactly what Matthew Selby wants to see in his rearview mirror. Justin Brooks has now caught the youngster of Slade Gravett, and he's on his back bumper looking to contend for the 2nd spot. And if you're, again, Selby, you're hoping that Slade Gravett can keep Brooks behind him as long as he possibly can, because Brooks has shown that he's got the speed, he's got the capabilities of passing and making his way through traffic. He's got single truck run speed. So Gravett needs to be on defense mode as much as he can for the sake of Selby in all of this. And so, looks like Gravett left the bottom open there. That's going to allow Justin Brooks side by side into the corner for that 2nd spot.
This is the opportunity Brooks needed. He's going for it right now. He's going to hunt down the leader lap by lap. That was the perfect opportunity to get the pass on Slade Gravett as he slid up on the exit of the corner. We're riding on board with Justin Brooks. As you can see, he's focused. He's looking straight ahead. He's going to start clicking off some of the fastest laps of the race and putting the pressure on Matthew Selby because the heavyweight title contender is back. Brooks is coming for another win.
Man, if Brooks is good at anything, he's good at being able to see when one of these drivers makes a minor slip up, take advantage of it, and he did exactly that. No contact was made. He just waited for Slade Gravett to slip up in the tiniest of bits and be able to take advantage of that, and that he did. He's now got his sights set on Matthew Selby, but a little bit farther back, you take a look here at Tyler Dohar, now in that third spot, or still holding the third spot from Buttafuoco. Gravett has slipped back to the fifth spot. We have to wonder, is something going on with the 21 Wood Brothers truck of Slade Gravett?
Slade might have got some damage. I'm curious to see what his truck looks like. But once you get up off the bottom groove, you kind of get freight trained a little bit by the cars that are the trucks that are nose to tail on the bottom. So Slade Gravett just might be collecting himself here, pulling back into line, getting back into a groove. But Tyler Dohar is having one of the strongest runs of the season. He's keeping Buttafuoco behind him. So I'm very impressed by the driver of the 88. And I thought Brooks might be reeling in Selby, but the gap is kind of keeping about the same distance here the last few laps.
And Justin Brooks in that second spot, but Tyler Dohar and Daniel Buttafuoco. This may be the race at the moment, because if you look here as we ride along with Daniel Buttafuoco, ooh, contact with Dohar. He gets into his quarter panel. Dohar, I guarantee you, had that wheel completely cranked right as Buttafuoco was in that left rear quarter panel, but able to hold on to it, slide back down in front of him. And so Buttafuoco will have to try once again. There's got to be some damage also to that right front fender of that Geico truck. So Buttafuoco now with a truck between himself and Daniel Brooks. Matthew Selby, again, class of the field so far this evening, leading with a pretty good distance between himself and second place. But Buttafuoco now creeping back to the back bumper of Dohar. And Rusty, do you think that Daniel Buttafuoco's patience has now run thin?
Yeah, he's showing he's ready to go, and he kind of threw it in there on Tyler Dohar, beating and banging. I mean, in my opinion, that's kind of Rubbins racing. That's what you expect at the dirt track, especially if you have a faster truck and you're trying to tell the guy in front of you, hey, it's time to go. Maybe you should let me go, otherwise I'm going to put you up in the wall. I'm going to door you. So maybe a message sent from Buttafuoco, because Buttafuoco is faster, but Tyler Dohar is hanging on, and he's very confident in his truck. You just got to keep hitting his marks, keep getting in the same racing groove as Buttafuoco, and he can keep him behind him here. But we're getting late in this race, and I think Buttafuoco is really going to start using the bumper a little bit more here.
Yeah, I would agree so as well. 12 laps to go here on the Xbox race at Eldora Speedway. Dohar still in protect mode over Buttafuoco for that third and fourth spot. Gravett slipped back to the fifth spot after being in that second position and trying to contend for the lead early on, but slipped back to the fifth spot. Tedeschi, he was involved in one of those early on cautions. He has made his way up to the sixth spot, so good run for that Penske team driver so far. But Brooks, you can see him here on your screen. He's trying to run about 11 qualifying laps, if he can do it, to try and track down his 10 laps to go. Flashes across your screen. Matthew Selby, though, is doing the same. He's trying to run those qualifying laps to keep Justin Brooks at that distance. If anything goes wrong for Selby, a caution would fly sometime in the next few laps. But, ooh, contact here between Dohar and Buttafuoco. You saw it on your screen there. Little wobble between those two. Ooh, yep, they continue to make contact. Dohar here with some issues, Rusty.
Yeah, it appears we have a little bit of server issues, some latency issues here on the Xbox side, but as the drivers are out there on the racetrack, they are not experiencing this to this level. This is just kind of a visual error going on with the Xbox, but they're going to get it cleaned up here. I think that we're going to get it cleaned up here as we're coming here at 10 to go.
One of the fun sides of esports here is being, very reliant on the internet. All of us racing and calling these races from different places in the country, or even internationally for some of us that are involved here. So we're going to take a moment here and figure out what is going on here on the Xbox server. And Rusty, you're someone that was part of the draft here in the Pro League. You've raced many a years here on this. This is just something that we experience from a technical side on occasion.
Yeah, it's just an occasional issue that happens kind of very rarely, and this is the first time it's ever happened in the Pro League. So this is just an interesting situation the directors are working through right now, deciding whether we call the race or get back out on the racetrack. They're working through it, but this is just a minor hiccup. But if the race is called, Matthew Selby was your leader, and he was kind of pulling away there late. So we're kind of hanging on right now to see what's going to happen to this race.
Now I have to ask here, I feel like I ask you this every time on where you're actually from, but you are from the Midwest, right, Rusty?
Yes, I'm up in Minnesota.
Have you made it to Eldora Speedway yet?
That's been my number one bucket list track of my life. I'm a huge Tony Stewart fan, and I'm ashamed to admit that I've never been there. I was hoping to go this year for the truck race, but it's going to happen sooner than later. I'm kind of ashamed to say it, but Eldora is number one on my bucket list.
Yeah, absolutely. I finally got my first chance to go there last year. You have to go get a pizza burger, I believe that's what it's called, and it's phenomenal. Like the whole environment of Eldora Speedway is unlike anything else. We were there for the truck race, so it's almost like deja vu watching our Pro League drivers here this evening and being able to be there in real life down on pit road. You've got it right. You've got to make that on the top of your bucket list to get there, hopefully in 2021.
Yeah, there's not much better than local short track racing, but when it's time to play in the clay, get in the dirt and throw some mud, I think Eldora, oh man, I feel bad for these guys on the racetrack here tonight. They didn't really get to finish the race, but I'm really excited for Matthew Selby.
And that's one of the cool things here in the Pro League. We do all different kinds of things as far as 1 week we're in cup cars on a high-speed super speedway. The next week we are in
Okay.
Alrighty, so we were just hearing there just the official word. They did go ahead and call that Xbox race, Rusty. Unfortunately, unable to get that server, everything going. It's hard on our end, again, to be able to watch. That's what we're relying on that server. So Matthew Selby, like you mentioned, is declared the winner here in the Xbox race.
Yeah, congratulations to the driver, the number 4 for Stuart Haas Esports. I know he's got to have a lot of emotions going through him right now. I can't wait for us to interview and talk to him to see just even his reaction in the post-race camera. But things like this happen. Xbox Live server is having a little bit of struggles here tonight, but that's okay. We ran about 80 laps and we got a good show. And the Xbox drivers, I have a lot to be proud of here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Matthew Selby, class of the field this evening. This wasn't something that I feel like just fell into his lap. He proved that he was the dominant truck all evening long, had that distance between himself and Brooks with less than 10 laps to go. So we'll try and get him dialed up here in a little bit and get that reaction from him. I feel like he's got to be our driver of the race, though. At the end of the day, all things aside, this win did not just fall into his lap.
Yeah, he was impressive, led every single lap, didn't really make any mistakes. And when Brooks and Botafuku, the 2 segment drivers, were on him, he still kept the lead. So you got to give Matthew Selby all the credit in the world.
Well, that being said, let's get a interview here with your winner of Matthew Selby in the Xbox race. He'll join us here in just a moment. Matthew Selby, can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, congratulations. Not necessarily how we all expected it to end here, but you've captured your first win here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. What's the excitement that you're feeling right now?
I'm crazy right now. You know, when my father died, I made a promise to him on his casket that I'd win a feature at Eldora. You know, it ain't in the real car, but Eldora, it sure does mean a lot to me. He never got a feature win at Eldora. It's special to me. Definitely coming on the dirt. It's the way I wanted it. If I could have picked any other way, this is the way I'd wanted it.
Sounds like the absolute dream scenario. Coming in today, you only led 2 laps. Was there a little bit extra motivation knowing your family story and the motivation coming into it? Your favorite track, Tony Stewart, driving for Tony Stewart. Can you just talk us more through kind of just the coming into the race, your preparation and confidence? Even though you've had a little bit of struggles, you still came out here and dominated.
Man, I had some struggles all year, just like you said there. Eldora, I've had this one circled ever since I was drafted. Ever since I knew it was on the schedule, I've had it circled, and I've always been dominant here. When we first got Heat 2, it was all I ran. When I got Heat 3, I only run dirt. It's, you know, and driving for Tony Stewart, and it's just special to me. You know, I can't believe that it happened this way. Extremely excited for everything. I got to thank my mom, my brother, my crew chief sitting over here beside me. My dad had on his first race car ever on the back, family tradition. That's what this is. Even though it ain't a real car, we still keep it a family tradition no matter what.
Well, Rusty and I both talked about it. We agreed you were the dominant truck this evening, and you're the rookie here to Stuart Haas Esports. Your teammate, Brandon Gritton, one of the reigning champions, got the win last week in the PlayStation platform. You've now joined him as being able to put that winner sticker above your door for Stuart Haas Esports. What's the confidence now that you'll carry into the rest of the remainder of this third and final segment for the chance to race for a championship and be part of that reigning champion team?
Well, no matter what, my confidence is always high. The 2 last place finishes, dead last 14th. Still came in with a lot of confidence and felt like we could win every single race this season. We finally got it done. Especially with all the support from Fort Performance Racing School, Hunt Brothers Pizza, and Haas Automation, Haas Tooling, and Abuzi also. It has been an amazing, amazing journey to get to this point and to finally get that first race win. We're coming for the championship on the Xbox side.
Yeah, what an unbelievable story. I got a little emotional listening to you there. You're leading the points. You got to win. Your confidence has never been higher. The championship is right there in your grasp. Is there any races coming up here that you kind of got circled, or maybe that you're worried about, maybe to let the fans know at home what to look for the rest of your segment going forward?
We like them all. That's for sure. We like Las Vegas. We like Auto Club, and we like Road America too. I like anything with America in it, so it's going to be great.
Awesome. Well, again, Matthew, congratulations on this win here. It was an exciting one, to say the least, and we look forward to watching the rest of the season.
Thank you, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, that's Matthew Selby, your winner here in the Xbox segment of tonight's race from Eldora. But we got a little sneak peek here once again for you on NASCAR Heat 5, so take a look at that. And then also take a look at last time out at Atlanta for our PlayStation drivers.
It's the final event in segment 2 of season 2 of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. We're underway in Atlanta. 10 drivers with a chance to win the segment and transfer to the championship race.
I can't wait to see what they're willing to do here today.
Everyone is on edge at the moment, and it's only going to intensify.
Look at this battle heading into turn 1 and 2. Third on back, and one of them up into the wall, up against the wall.
This is unbelievable.
Oh, this thing's getting extremely close as Britton looks to the outside on the front stretch. 3-car battle. Who's going to win the segment?
I think we're setting ourselves up for one of those Atlanta finishes.
White flag waving this time. Final lap from Atlanta.
Britton literally touching Josh Harbin, goes to the inside.
Contact made. Car up the track. That was Harbin. Crashes hard. Coming to the checkered flag for a segment win. Brandon Britton.
I gotta shout out my crew chief. He gets just as pumped up as I do on good in these races. So thank you to you, Chase. We got our first dub tonight, bud. Let's go get some more.
And you saw it, all of that animosity and the excitement that these PlayStation drivers brought last week. We highly expect the same thing here, this up-and-coming race for the PlayStation drivers. You can see them all here, Rusty. They're getting ready for yet another exciting race.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kyle Arnold's face. He's totally locked in right now, ready to go. Looking at Joey Stone, kind of laughing, kind of keeping it casual as always. The Bear, he's having fun as well. But the thing I'm looking at right off the bat is the drivers that have all the drama and the rivalry coming from Atlanta. They're starting in the top 3 here tonight. So we could see some beating and banging early on, maybe a little bit of payback.
Speaking of Joey Stone and keeping it casual, I'm sure you saw on Twitter earlier I think it was earlier today, Rusty, he had tweeted a picture of himself as Joe Dirt. How appropriate
Yeah.
for tonight's race at Eldora.
That's one of my favorite things about Joe. He's always trying to look for ways to have fun and kind of promote him, his team, and his sponsors in a new way, and to sort of play on Joe Dirt. That was good. That was good stuff, Joey.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure one of the our NASCAR Heat fans actually got a hold of that picture as well. And I made my way somehow onto that movie cover as well. They photoshopped my face in. So props for creativity on that. Definitely gave us all a laugh here on the NASCAR Heat Pro League. So all of those drivers getting ready to go racing in the PlayStation race. It's their turn. I need to get myself a hat like Corey Rothgeb. I love those Penske, those Worth hats that they have. They're a little throwback, and I love them.
Yeah, it's kind of got that Ryan Blaney vintage look there with the rope on it. That's a cool look. Love the Penske look. But just taking a look, I just like, once again, I like looking into the drivers, the in-car onboard view, just to see their just emotions prior to getting into a big race. Nick Jobs is probably cracking some jokes, maybe roasting some drivers. But the other guys, I think they're, like you see Joe Gornick, he's ready to go. I think we're setting ourselves up for another exciting and dramatic PlayStation 4 race.
Yeah, absolutely. So we will get pace laps here underway in just a few minutes for this PlayStation race. And you often see it here in our previews. Again, these guys use this Zoom to communicate with each other. So if you ever thought that these drivers had a one-way access to each other and yell at each other, that's what they do here in our Zoom. So just like in our Xbox race, 90 laps in length here, 3 times that tire wear, full damage. We saw some of our Xbox drivers have to take advantage of pit road for that reason here on the half mile of Eldora Speedway. So your starting order for your Xbox drivers tonight on that front row, Brandon Gritton won last week out in Atlanta. Outside of him, Josh Harbin. This ought to be an interesting front row, Rusty. We can talk about that here in a minute. Kyle Arnold right behind them, and Cody Giles in row 2.
In row 3, we got Brandon Hanna and Mike Bross. Keep an eye on Mike Bross. He's one of the most aggressive drivers. Josh Parker's been leading races lately. Maxwell Castro is your segment 1 winner, so we got a stacked row 3 and 4.
In row 5, Joey Stone, and outside of him, Jason Mitchell. I know Joey Stone looking forward to this race. Joe Gornick in row 6, and Corey Rothgeb outside of him. And your final row here, row 7 for the PlayStation 4. In round 9 of Eldora at the tail end of the field, TJ McGowan for JDG Daughtery, and Nick Jobs outside of him. So that is your starting field in the PlayStation platform here at Eldora. It is their turn to take the ropes. And quick thought here, Rusty, again, that front row, it's an interesting one after Atlanta.
Yeah, these are the drivers to keep an eye on. They they are mad at each other on and off the track. They say everything's cool, but keep an eye on it between the 13, the 95, and the 14.
And the green flag is in the air at Eldora for your PlayStation drivers. 90 laps here to race.
And once again, the drivers are working to get into single file, work their way to the bottom. Is Brandon Gritton, your defending champion. Your segment 2 winner is leading this thing early. Kyle Arnold picks up a spot, puts it in the second spot. But we're still 3 wide back in the pack with Mike Brosh and Josh Parker.
And Brandon Gritton holding on to that lead, like you'd mentioned. Josh Harbin slipping back a few positions to that 3rd spot, but a battle for the 5th and 6th spot. Brandon Hanna, Josh Parker, Mike Bross was a part of that as well on the bottom. So your drivers about 5th on back multiple times have been 3 wide thus far. Josh Harbin in protect mode in your 3rd spot from Cody Giles. So he's trying to make that work. A couple drivers I think we just saw bounce off of the straightaway there.
Yeah, they might have made some contact, got up in the wall, and that damage, once again, will play a factor in the handling of these cars. It'll slow you down, it'll tighten up your car if it's on the front end, and if it's on your rear, it'll loosen you up. But the big area is when it changes the handling of a car that you've worked countless hours on building a setup for, it changes your pace, your speed, and the whole dynamic of your race. So they're going to have to wait until there's a caution to make those fixes to the car, if a yellow even comes out. So you really want to keep your truck clean, as you see Parker and Bross beating and banging there, sliding through the corners.
Bross on the outside of Parker, like you said. Bross able to hold on to it there pretty sideways, but we jump back along here with Kyle Arnold in the 2nd spot. He's trying to reel in Brandon Gritton. And Kyle Arnold, we talked to him in the pre-race. He has been so close so many times, and like he mentioned, Rusty, it's almost the mentality of how is he going to lose this one, because he's been so dominant. He's been in the position to win races, and it never fails that something happens to him, and he's still not locked into this championship race.
Yeah, you got to feel for the driver of the 13, Kyle Arnold. He has probably been the best driver on the PlayStation 4 side, the most consistent. He's led 54 laps during the season, but something, like you said, always seems to happen. At Watkins Glen, he had the issue with Maxwell Castro, and coming into this, like, you saw at Atlanta, we had the drama between Brandon Gritton, where Brandon Gritton sent it on him and moved him up out of the way, where Brandon Gritton clinched the ticket to the championship. So Kyle Arnold, I want to see what he's going to do here in segment 3. We talked to him. He did circle Eldora as his race of the season, that he has to win, that he wants to win, that he's confident that he can get the win in. So I want to see Kyle Arnold kind of put the full race together, pick up another win in the Geico 13, and establish himself as your favorite for segment 3.
And he'd have a diverse resume if able to get the win here at Eldora. He won at Mid-Ohio earlier in the year, and then he won at Dover, and now is looking to add a dirt track to that resume. So we're right along here, as you can see, with Nick Jobs in that 13 spot. Showed a little frustration last week at Atlanta with a couple of the drivers, so he's trying to work his way up through the field, being tailed by TJ McGowan. And that Ally truck is just such a beautiful looking truck. I have to say I'm biased. Again, we race Cup cars, we race Xfinity cars, and then we get the chance to race trucks. And the schemes and the detail that these teams put together for their sponsors on these trucks. I mean, even Joe Gornick in the 7 for Junior Motorsports Rusty, we have some beautiful looking trucks here.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of the trucks in the NASCAR Heat Pro League. Each design is tailored to their trucks. We're right on board with the Gear Wrench Chevy for Chip Ganassi Gaming. That's also another beautiful truck. One of my favorites in the field over on the Xbox side is Diego Alvarado with the Air Force teeth on the front of that thing. That thing's mean looking, but I'm with you. The Ally 25 is gorgeous. I love the way the paint and the sponsor pop. Kyle Arnold, who's in second place with the Camel, that's another gorgeous truck. And like you said, this Brandt number 7 from Joe Gornick, that's another gorgeous one.
Yeah, you can't miss that number 7 Brandt truck. Very, very bright paint scheme. But we jump back up to the front here with your leader of Brandon Gritton. Kyle Arnold trying to close that gap. He's been able to do so. Gritton being able to keep about 4 truck length distance between himself and second place of Kyle Arnold. And another driver, Josh Harbin, who runs in the 3rd spot. Harbin's almost in a similar situation. If you had to pair 2 drivers that have just had the worst of luck this season, I would say Kyle Arnold and Josh Harbin are those 2. Harbin, again, last week in Atlanta, was so close, was up there in the top 3, battling for the win. He was that driver that got into the wall at the tail end of the race. And both Arnold and Harbin, maybe not so fond of Brandon Gritton, Rusty.
Yeah, I can understand Kyle Arnold's perspective when Brandon Gritton made kind of a split-second aggressive move on the bottom to get him up out of the way to go for the race win. But it was late in the race, and I have a lot of respect for Brandon Gritton to just go for it and pick up that win, because that's what he needed to do to get in the championship. Later in the race, Josh Harbin kind of stayed out on old tires, maybe by mistake, and put himself in a really tough position. And when he's out on old tires, you're just running slower. So when Brandon Gritton moved him out of the way, I think he maybe a little bit for show, maybe did get his feelings hurt, but Josh Harbin had to expect the faster cars to kind of get aggressive and move him out of the way. But we've been showing Kyle Arnold a lot of love here on the broadcast tonight, but Josh Harbin is going to give him a fight here in segment 3. Those are 2 of the drivers I've been keen in on all season, especially Josh Harbin. He's clutch. He always seems to be there at the end. And we're right on board right here with Josh Parker. He's wheeling that thing in 6th place. That's also another really I think a beautiful racetrack. I've always loved the interstate batteries, paint schemes, and that's a really cool update that they've had here for the 2020 season.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Josh Harbin and Kyle Arnold, really the 2 that I also have circled here to try and punch their ticket in segment 3. Brandon Gritton locked in segment 2, and Maxwell Castro, who's currently in the 11th spot, he got that season off to a pretty hot start, was able to punch his way into the championship in segment 1. But these last couple races for Castro, Rusty, have been I don't want to say less than ideal for him, not able to really capture these finishes that reflect that segment 1 for him.
Yeah, to start the season, it seemed like Castro was always up front, lead laps are in contention for the win. The last few weeks, it seems like he's been up and down, but he has had the speed. You do find him up there at points in the race, but he hasn't been able to put the full race together. As you can see, he is back in 11th, and it's kind of, you scratch your head a little bit because he did win a segment, but like I said, he has the speed and as a diverse talent. He wins at road courses. He's just a contender, a competitor each and every week. But on the PlayStation 4 side, if you're off a 10th, you might be off a lap at the end of the race. That's just how competitive it's here today. Because Brandon Gritton, he's just putting on a show with Kyle Arnold up front. They're just kind of pulling away. This is just as tough as it gets. You got to kind of give some respect to these guys that are putting in the time, putting in the effort to build these setups and be perfect here today. Right on board here with with Brandon Hanna in 5th place. He's kind of on the back bumper of the Bear, Josh Harbin. You can see the Bear get a little bit sideways here, maybe inviting Brandon Hanna here. I think we might see a pass here for 4th place coming up.
And I think it's so important, and we've seen it time and time again, and we'll continue to see it tonight, is to protect that bottom groove. Again, here it goes, plays out in position. Brandon Hanna able to get that preferred bottom groove. It just seemed it was a little bit of a slip up on Harbin, getting off the corner, left too much room, so Brandon Hanna will take advantage of that slip up. He will try to get to the inside here of Harbin. He does so side by side through the corner, Harbin and Brandon Hanna. So they're neck and neck going down the back stretch here. And you see him out of the corner. Harbin with a good run on the outside, but Rusty, it's so difficult to try and make these trucks stick here on the outside groove. No one's been doing it, and it plays out right there for you. Into the wall goes Harbin, scuffed up that right side, and he'll slip into line behind Hanna. But again, we've seen these guys, they've been practicing here on the bottom groove all week.
Yeah, they've really tried to set their truck up for the bottom here. You see Josh Harbin maybe trying to get a little bit of payback on Brandon Hanna. I love riding on board with these trucks. When you get the roof cam, you can see how they angle their car, see how they maybe send it into the bottom. We saw Brandon Hanna there. He really carved it in there right on the bottom. He was like right up against the wall underneath that white line, and he kind of washed up into Josh Harbin a little bit, maybe kind of impacted the next corner's entry. And you saw kind of Josh Harbin, as you said, right on cue, get up into the wall. So, but the key is to be on the bottom. Like you see Corey Rothgeb there working his way forward. The bottom is the place to be here at Eldora.
And just like in real life, that's where those trucks end up as well. Unless you're one of those dirt guys, then you try and get up in the fence a couple times, but only a few are brave enough to challenge that. So, contact here with Josh Harbin, Mitchell gets into the back of Corey Rothgeb, rides, and he's under fire from Joe Gornick. These three right here are almost bumper to bumper, making contact through the corner. And I think we're going to see Joe Gornick get a little impatient. Yep, throws it in there, makes contact with Jason Mitchell. And Mitchell able to put some distance between himself and the 7 of Gornick. This is going to be a little hornet's nest, as now Castro has been able to close the distance on Gornick as well.
It's fun to watch this because they make it look really easy to drive that close to each other's bumper, but I'll tell you what, it's not that easy. It's very difficult to hit your marks perfect and kind of be right there in the bumper and not lose track position, not give up the bottom, not slip and slide up out of the way. These guys back here in the back of the pack, we talked about how competitive PlayStation 4 is. This is how competitive it is. Everybody is within literally like the same lap times of each other, as we see Jason Mitchell slide up off the bottom here, but even though they're back here, they're still battling, and this is important to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, everyone here still trying to get their team the best finish that they can. It's all going to come down to if someone that is already locked in to the championship finale, such as Brandon Gritton or Maxwell Castro, wins this third segment, it's going to be an accumulated total point. So everyone's still racing for good position here and able to get those good finishes to add up those total points championship to lock themselves in. But still riding along here on the number 1 truck of Maxwell Castro, trying to reel in Gornick. Ooh, high. We saw Jason Mitchell go extremely high, swing back to the bottom to go back into protect mode over Joe Gornick. So these guys still single file. Gornick, though, he keeps eyeing Jason Mitchell like he wants to make an aggressive move here. And with 56 laps to go, it's still a long race, Rusty. Ooh, we've got a battle, though, here for 4th spot, Rusty.
Yeah, it looks like Josh Harbin is losing him a little bit of ground to the top 3 as Brandon Hanna is working his way forward, putting pressure on Josh. I mean, Josh, if you're making a mistake, you're opening up the door and making an opportunity for people to pass and maybe get in your door. I thought Josh Harbin might be a little bit more competitive today. I know he's in 4th place right now, but it seems to be like he's fading towards the back. As we ride on board here, take a look at the onboard camera of Josh Harbin. He's got the Fanatec wheel, saw him back and forth. Brandon Hanna, he looks kind of calm and collected out there, just kind of cruising. It's just fascinating to watch these guys in the different styles of the way they get around a dirt track.
Yeah, and Josh Harbin from Alabama, familiar with some of those dirt tracks, but I know Talladega is always one he looks forward to as well. Harbin, though, one of my favorite personalities that carried over from season 1, his wife Amber as well. It's been cool to get to know them throughout the last 2 seasons. So Harbin last year was what I considered an underdog and now shows up as a veteran. But Brandon Hanna, woof, little wobble there down the front stretch, maybe scuffed that front stretch wall. Harbin with a high line out of the corner and into the back stretch. That almost allowed Brandon and Hannah to recover that scuff of the wall that he just did. So Hannah running a little bit of a higher groove than Harbin. These two couldn't be running more polar opposite of lines, one higher in the corner, the other one lower in the corner. So interesting if these two are able to catch each other once again. But we go a little bit farther back in the pack to Mike Bross and Joey Stone. It's your boy Joey Stone, Rusty. He's trying to make his way to the front, but he's got to get past Mike Bross here first.
Yeah, Joey Stone, he's back here in 8th place. He is putting the pressure on Mike Bross, and I got a feeling he's getting a little frustrated with him here. These guys are pals off the track. They practice all week together, and even after the race tonight, no matter what happens, they're going to be laughing and just talking jokes. Even like, so, yeah, like if Joey wrecks Mike here, maybe Mike won't be happy, but I'm telling you, these guys love each other. They're part of the Outsider Chassis off the track in previous online racing leagues. So these guys, they are competitors in the Pro League, but they and they're going to race each other like they're like basically enemies. But they're still friends, and they just want to perform for their team and get the results they expect for their team.
And let's elaborate on that a little bit more, Rusty. If anyone's just now joining us for your first time here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, these guys went through a draft process. Some of them were carried over from Season 1. All of the teams were required to drop at least one player from Season 1, and those people were absorbed into the draft and able to be drafted here on either the same team or a new team. So we've got a lot of returners, we've got a lot of newcomers, but outside of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, these guys have all raced against each other for years in different leagues and different servers. So it's more than just the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. These guys have known each other, many of them, for years.
And that's what makes these rivalries and just on-track racing so fun, and the excitement when they're on top of each other. Like Britton and Harbin and Arnold, they know each other. They know how they race. So even though they expect it, they still get frustrated when there's contact. I mean, like I said, they love each other, but it matters to them. The stakes are so high right now as the championship is closing in here.
And Joey Stone here in that 8th spot, or that 7th spot. Mike Bross now has caught him and made that pass. So Corey Rothgeb, Mike Bross, all of them there. That's a little hornet's nest that we're starting to see, everyone getting impatient. So the 44 of Bross in between Stone. And like you'd mentioned, Rusty, these guys know each other. They know how they're racing. They can almost predict each other's moves, and that's what makes it so entertaining and so fun, and so competitive, because they know how far to push the other person. But high through the corner there went Bross. That almost allowed Corey Rothgeb to try and stick his nose in there, but Rothgeb decided of the ladder and decided to stay behind him there. So 44 laps to go at Eldora with the PlayStation. So far, calm, cool, and collected. We saw a couple cautions in our Xbox platform, but right now, Rusty, everyone's been pretty, I don't want to say calm, because we've seen some aggressive racing and we've seen a lot of fender beating, but it's been calm enough at the moment. Do you expect, as these laps wind down, that we will see our wild card of our PlayStation drivers maybe turn it up a little bit?
Yeah, just when you think it's going to settle down, they're probably going to ramp it up here. I was keeping an eye on the fenders of all these trucks as we're taking a peek at them, and just to see if there is any damage on them. It looks like Brandon Gritton, his truck looks pretty clean, so he's going to keep going fast. But those guys that were battling to the death in the back, they weren't really making contact, even though they were on top of each other. And I'm just impressed at how they're able to be slipping and sliding and not creating that damage. Fascinating racing there in the back of the pack. But we have closed back in on lap traffic. We talked about it on the Xbox race. Lap traffic is going to play a huge factor in this racing, because if they get in that bottom groove, if they get in the way, they're going to slow down the leader. As you can see, Kyle Arnold, he's right there. So all it takes is McGowan to maybe just, you see right there in the bottom, this is going to be a huge impact on Gritton. Gritton's not going to be happy. So I'm curious how Gritton's going to handle the lap traffic going forward.
Well, Gritton is king of aggression. So fortunately for him, that lap truck of McGowan just moved right out of the way for him. There wasn't much of a question, and he was able to get past him without any real effort. So that's going to play into Gritton's favor, as Arnold is now going to have to deal with McGowan when he gets to it. But what's going to happen is you're going to see Gritton, like you mentioned, Rusty, continue to reel in these lap cars. Nick Job's now next on the checklist for Brandon Gritton. If he happens to catch a group of trucks, though, that's when things are going to get sticky, because these guys are already racing for position amongst themselves, and then you throw the leader in there, no one's going to want to give any room, and there's plenty of laps left to make that happen. We've still got 37 laps to go in Eldora for the PlayStation race, and Gritton still with some pretty good distance between Kyle Arnold, and Mike Bross was part of that Hornet, as you can see here, that Hornet's nest with Joey Stone and Corey Rothgeb, and they still cannot seem to get away each other. Gornick in the mix as well. This little group, Rusty, they can't seem to get away from each other.
Yeah, full send from Corey Rothgeb on the bottom there. I got to imagine these drivers are having an absolute blast. Maybe there's a little bit of frustration, but as a competitor, as a driver in this game, this is what you live for, to be on top of each other, just racing competitively this close. And it's in the Pro League, so these guys, I have to imagine, are really, really enjoying this opportunity to be this close at Eldora. And when Corey kind of sent it on the bottom, maybe he's just like, I've put together 50 clean laps, so let's just start having some fun. I'm gonna start sending some sliders. If I get India, I get India. Well, we're back here in 8th place. I want to work the track a little bit more, maybe get some more ground on the guys in front. But I just love this. Like, you can see Mike Bross, he's totally clenched up right there. Oh, a little bit of smile out of Mike. Joey Stone, he's locked in and focused. I recognize that look on his face. He's totally locked in right there, just trying to hit his marks. But that's what I love right on board with these onboard cameras, just to kind of get a sneak peek into the emotions and kind of the personality of these drivers.
And Joey Stone almost had a smirk on his face just a little bit ago, almost knowing that he had Mike Bross trying to reel him in here. And they're talking to each other. They're on that group chat or that driver's room that you've seen in the pre-race before. So they're all able to communicate with each other. Some of them even communicating with their crew chiefs, their spotters that they have involved here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. So Mike Bross, though, little wobble there on the truck, able to hold on to it and continues to try and track down Joey Stone. But there's probably a little smack talking going on between this group, Rusty.
Yeah, that's what I live for too as a competitor. Just we do it in the online leagues and lobbies. We just love talking trash. It could be for last, it could be first. You just love kind of having fun and bugging your buddies while you're out there racing. And this happens to be on the biggest stage of them all, so they're really enjoying this moment right here. But the race is not over. We still have 30 to go, and if Akasha comes out, it's going to change everything, and then you're going to see them kind of flip the switch, get back into that championship mindset and mentality, and maybe forget that their buddies out there. But right now, they're just clicking laps, having fun, and I'm still keeping an eye on Brandon Gritton's lead as he worked through lap traffic. He still kind of got that 1.2 second lead over Kyle Arnold. I'm a little bit shocked by that. Cody Giles is in third, 4 seconds back, but this is, once again, a race that Brandon Gritton is controlling. Kind of the story on Brandon Gritton throughout the season, he's been leading laps. He's one of the fastest drivers in the league, but he hadn't been able to kind of close the deal until recently. Last week at Atlanta, arguably a controversial way, he finally got that win. Your defending champion finally got a win in season 2, and there's something changed maybe with the confidence in Brandon Gritton. He's probably found something to set up. His teammate Matthew Selby dominated the first race today, led every single lap. So these Stuart Haas esports drivers, they found some magic here at Eldora. It's kind of got me thinking a little bit, but it's really cool to see Brandon Gritton kind of get back into championship mode.
And this is a lot how season 1 played out for the Pro League. Honestly, last season, it was Team Penske off to an early jump. They were almost untouchable at the beginning of the season. And then about midway through the season, here came Stuart Haas Esports. They quickly showed that they were going to be one to contend with. It came down to the finals. Some tiebreakers were done. And it was Stuart Haas Esports. And so this is something that we're seeing similarly so that Gritton did last year as well. Found that momentum later in the season, and then was hard to catch after that. So, telltale, here we are again, once again now in season 2. He's got that win under his belt, and that confidence is at an all-time high. But Rusty, as a racer, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking there doesn't need to be a caution. These drivers are racing, they're having a good time, they're racing hard, but as a fan, the best thing that could happen right now would be a caution. It would bunch the group back up. It would put Kyle Arnold within grasp of Brandon Gritton. It would bunch everyone up to get Harbin involved in this race as well. So it's such a tough thing to be able to call and sit here and say, we'd love to see a caution when these drivers are having so much fun.
Yeah, I think the only 3 people in the world right now that don't want a yellow are Brandon Gritton, Kyle Arnold, and Cody Giles, because they got top 3, and those pay important points. Even Josh Harbin that pays a lot of points and money. But even as a driver, you just want another opportunity to maybe put yourself in position to make some moves, to kind of work your way forward. But it's just part of racing. Sometimes the yellows fly, sometimes they don't. But these guys are still on top of each other. Anything can happen here at any lap. We talked about it in race 1. If you get a little bit sideways, things can happen quickly. They can turn your truck into the barrels off turn 4 and cause a huge, I've seen big ones here at Eldora. So even though they're kind of cruising, anything can happen at any time. But this has just been a very competitive PlayStation 4 race. Kyle Arnold is closing the gap down to about 1 second on Brandon Gritton. He's got to kind of hit these qualifying laps, hit his marks perfectly. But when Gritton gets into this traffic here, it could really, really impact his race lead and the dynamic of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Kyle Arnold has really turned the gas on these last handful of laps. Went from that 3-second lead now down to about a second, almost under a second here with 20 laps to go. Kyle Arnold just aggressively driving that truck. You can see him go in there. He throws the truck around, and it's paying off for him. I mean, he's been able to close this gap on Gritton, and if he gets to him, and they're reaching some lap traffic here soon, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get there. That really puts a hinder on Gritton. But if he does get to him again, these guys have, I don't want to say bad blood, but they have a little bad blood from the previous weekend's race. It's been a continued thing, and now they're not racing for second place. They're not racing for third. They're racing here for the win. And to start this this third and final segment off with a win, I would love to see Kyle Arnold catch Brandon Gritton in these closing laps.
I'm with you 100% all the way. This is what I live for as a fan. Kyle Arnold told us in the pre-race, he talked about the social media drama. He's going to get to the 14, but the question is, what is he going to do when he gets here? I feel like we talked about this with Maxwell Castro early in the year, but Kyle Arnold is closing in on Gritton. He's definitely thinking payback if he gets there, and a place at Eldora when you can invite some contact. But man, I'm like you got me kind of excited here because this thing is not over yet, and I want to see the fenders beating and banging. I just want to see some drama here late for the fans at home.
Man, well, hats off to some of our lap traffic there. Castro now 1 lap down due to your leader, Brandon Gritton, making that move. Very respectful of those lap traffic. We've seen it in previous races, even earlier in the season. I can't think of what racetrack we were at, that we had a lap car that raced the leader extremely hard. So maybe everyone had a little talking to, because everyone being very courteous in pulling over to your leader of Brandon Gritton. So Gritton was able to put a little bit of a pad in, not much longer now, because Kyle Arnold has also cleared Maxwell Castro. So Brandon Gritton will go to the bottom here of Jason Mitchell in that 11th spot. So we're now fully in lap traffic here, Rusty. This is exactly what Kyle Arnold needed.
Yeah, Jason Mitchell definitely impacted the lead right there. I thought it was going to really kill Brandon Gritton's run, but on the exit of the corner, Kyle Arnold kind of met him on the outside there, and so it held up Kyle Arnold's run. But now we see Brandon Gritton working on the back of Nick Jobs. Nick Jobs has been respectful all season to give these leaders room, as you see him kind of pull hide and just really let them go. When Kyle Arnold is still in this, we're coming down to about 10 to go, but I'm just... race directors in my ear laughing at me. I'm loving this. Brandon Gritton, Stuart Haas Esports, putting on a show here, dominating out front. But look at this. It's right there. The lead is right there. So Kyle Arnold's got to focus, hit his marks, and not try to get too much all at once, and just click off some smooth, solid laps. As you can see, put it there perfectly right on the bottom and get the drive here off the exit of 4.
And the sentence didn't even finish coming out of my mouth, and Stuart Haas Esports is already at me on social media saying that they have canceled my Busch beer delivery because apparently I am no longer Stuart Haas Esports. Now hold on here, folks. I'm just saying that we would love to see a shootout here for the win. We can't have Brandon Gritton stinking up the show at Eldora of all places. I'm just trying to give the fans here what they want, so I'll send you my shipping address still, and we can make sure that all still gets delivered. And I'm talking to you, Jake Morris, here of Stuart Haas Esports. But 9 laps to go, those laps continuing to wind down. Kyle Arnold now has it just above a second, that gap between himself and Brandon Gritton. Cody Giles in that 3rd spot, Harbin 4th, Brandon Hanna 5th. Clean and green this entire race. Rusty, I don't know if he's going to be able to close this gap in 8 laps. They may catch Gornick in these 8 laps, but no lap traffic has slowed Brandon Gritton thus far.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious if those lap cars maybe just to kind of mess with Brandon Gritton, back it up to him. And no, I'm just kind of joking out loud there. But I think with 7 to go, it's now 6 to go, there is not enough time for Brandon Gritton to catch these lap cars. Kyle Arnold, he's been perfect. Gritton's been perfect. I think somebody's going to have to make a really big mistake, or at least the 14's going to have to make a really big mistake if Kyle Arnold's going to catch him here with these laps winding down.
And 7 laps to go, 6 laps to go here at Eldora. Riding along with Kyle Arnold. Brandon Gritton been the class of the field thus far. 5 laps to go at Eldora Speedway. We've got 4 drivers at least 1 lap down, if that doesn't tell you the dominance that Brandon Gritton has had. He's been carrying this new confidence after coming off of a win and a punch ticket to the championship last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Kyle Arnold, man, the bridesmaid is what we're going to have to start calling him, just because it seems like he's always so close, but it has yet to be his moment. He's got those 2 wins earlier on in the season, being Mid-Ohio and Dover, but just unable to fully close that deal on locking into the championship. He wanted the win tonight, but it's only 3 laps to go at Eldora. They're starting to catch lap traffic. You hope that everyone is able to maneuver this quickly, Rusty.
Yeah, it might play an impact here with 1 to go. We'll see how the leader handles this. But today has definitely been the Brandon Gritton show. Your defending champion, your segment 2 winner. It's just, I can't wait to talk to him if he does complete this victory, park it in victory lane, just to hear his confidence, hear his emotions. But I'm just thoroughly impressed by the 2 Stewart-Haas Esports drivers. Just absolute dominance at Tony Stewart's racetrack.
And on the final lap here, Brandon Gritton has led almost every single lap. He comes off of a win at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He was under fire only a handful of times during this race. So coming off of that final corner here, Brandon Gritton will go back-to-back here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, collects the win here at Eldora. Kyle Arnold comes home in second. Stewart-Haas Esports sweeps tonight here at Eldora. This is the first time that we've seen this here, I think, in the Pro League this season, Rusty. So cool to have that. Or did we see Germain Gaming do that earlier in the season as well?
Yeah, typically we have seen it out of Germain Gaming. We'll see Chip Ganassi Gaming qualify real well, race real well, but for the 2 teammates to pick up the win, that's very, very impressive and very hard to do. Maybe they must have been practicing all week to find the perfect setup, the perfect combination to be able to go out here and spank the field. I can't wait to hear what Brandon says about that truck, because that truck was unbelievable.
And that it was virtually untouchable here at a virtual Eldora Speedway. And what a great race that was, Rusty. Again, Brandon Gritton, class of the field here. And you have to hats off to Kyle Arnold. Again, so close. There's almost a sense of sympathy for him because he's been so close so many times, unable to close the deal. But would we be wrong to really keep our eyes on Brandon Gritton this second segment? Because if he carries what he had in Atlanta, being that aggression, the confidence he has here in Eldora and the dominance, he might be a tough one to beat in this final segment here for the PlayStation drivers.
Yeah, Brandon Gritton has definitely arrived. He's back in championship mode. He's just unstoppable right now. He's been, like I said, he's been qualifying really well, putting this thing on pole, but he hasn't been getting the finishes. But now that he's getting the finishes, he's putting a lot of pressure on a driver like Kyle Arnold. And I know we're kind of making it seem like it's kind of a sad story that Kyle finished second, but that pays a lot of points and a lot of money. And I think Kyle's going to be happy with those points. And I know this is a track he had circled, but to get a top 3 finish, that is huge in these segments, as we've seen in the previous segments. The way these things add up, I feel like Kyle Arnold, he's going to be bummed for a little bit, but I think he's going to be happy he brought it home in the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Brandon Gritton has already punched that ticket to the championship. So he's good to go. So it's going to be a total points. Kyle Arnold's got to be within that grasping position. Now with his second place, we know he'll contend here in the rest of the season as well. So we'll take a look at those standings here in just a moment on how everyone panned out here in the race, starting with, I believe, our PlayStation drivers here. Those race results. Brandon Gritton, again, your winner here. Kyle Arnold comes home second. Cody Giles there was in the 3rd spot. Most of the race comes home there. Josh Harbin in 4th. Josh Parker and Brandon Hanna in 5th and 6th. And rounding out your top 7, Rusty, was Joey Stone.
And we're going to take a look at the back half of the field here. Mike Bross brought it home in 8th. Corey Ropke 9th. Joe Gornick 10th. But the guys finished a lap down are Jason Mitchell, Maxwell Castro kind of shockingly, and TJ McGowan, and Nicky Jobs 2 laps down.
Yeah, those Brandon Gritton here, winner, definitely on a tear, able to put a couple guys some laps down. Impressive here at the half mile of Eldora Speedway. So championship standings as well will play into this. And you can see those driver standings in total again, because if Brandon Gritton goes on to win here, it's going to be a total points that's going to lock in the driver here in the third segment. So Gritton atop there with 40. Then you had Corey Rothgibb, and Cody Giles, Josh Harbin, Kyle Arnold, Maxwell Castro. So even though he didn't have the night that he wanted to, Mike Bross in 7th.
The key takeaway I'm getting from this is the guys that I kind of predicted might be the strongest competitors in segment 3. They came away with high point paying finishes. So that's really key for those drivers right there. But you did mention it. If Brandon Gritton wins this segment, it's going to come down to the driver that has collected the most accumulative points during the season to get their ticket punched into the championship. So Kyle Arnold, he's getting the important finishes and the important points.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always nice too. A little extra good finish here is a little extra paycheck as well. We'd mentioned it, $2,000 to win. And it spreads out throughout the field as well. But we had a little bit of an issue earlier on in the race for those Xbox guys with the server, and we're unable to get you those race results. But we've got them for you now. So your Xbox official race results, we talked to your winner of Matthew Selby. He took that win for Stuart Haas Esports. Justin Brooks comes home in that second spot, and Tyler Dohar in third again. Justin Brooks tried so hard to reel in. Selby was unable to do so. Daniel Buttafuoco in 4th. Slade Gravett rounds out your top 5 with Brian Tedeschi and Matthew Heel rounding out your top 7, Rusty.
We're taking a look at 8th place on back here. Riley Ogle, Sam Morris, Louis Zader. I'm still waiting for Louis Zader to kind of put together some race winning performances. Jordan McGraw has kind of struggled this season. Nick Walker, that's a guy I'm really shocked by. He's a championship contender, and he finished all the way back in 12th. So that's going to kill his points coming away in race 1 of segment 3.
And something a little bit different here in the Pro League for Season 2. Last season, when they raced for a championship, we saw them race on the Xbox and then the PlayStation platform. It was accumulation of points. So we will have your team standings here for you in just a moment. But that doesn't play into crowning a champion here in Season 2. These drivers will have punched those tickets for the championship race. We'll have a wild card race at the tail end of Segment 3 here after we punch a person to championship during the Segment 3. And then those drivers will race their way on one platform for a championship. So we will crown one champion for their team. And you have to wonder, Rusty, if that makes these guys even that much more competitive, since it really is on their shoulders.
Yeah, this is what I love about Season 2. It's all about the driver points, the individual performance. It is they do celebrate team wins, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual and getting those wins and putting yourself in the championship. And you could see your teammate there as well.
And speaking of wins, we've got your winner here in the PlayStation platform of Brandon Gritton. He'll join us now. Brandon, it seems like we just talked to you. You captured that win at Atlanta, able to do it again here at Eldora Speedway in complete dominance. Did you know when you started this race that you were going to be the man to beat, and you were going to be so tough to beat at that? Brandon, are you able to hear us?
Can y'all hear me now?
Oh, we got him.
There we go. Now I think we've got you here. Were you able to hear the question?
Yeah, I heard you. Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute myself for some reason. But, yeah, I knew I had a good truck going in, but in practice, Red had me covered a little bit coming out of 4, every practice we had. So I went in thinking he was going to be the truck I had to beat. But we got a good restart. That's what won us the race, is we got that clean track position and got checked out a little ways. And from there, I knew we were equal enough to where if I didn't make no mistakes, I could stay ahead of them. And thank God there was no cautions, and we were able to set sail and get us another victory.
Hey, Brandon, you were kind of the center of controversy at Atlanta last week, and we knew kind of coming in today, Kyle Arnold was going to be your toughest competition, as you mentioned, but you backed that up. All the drama with another dominating win. Do you have a message for the competitors on the PlayStation 4 side?
We ain't going to go down without swinging, that's for sure.
And you guys have proved that again. It seems to be a repeat, as we talked about a little earlier, of Season 1. You've really found this late season momentum. Looking forward here to the third and final segment. You're already punched your way in. Do we expect to see an aggressive Brandon Gritton, knowing that, hey, you're locked in, so you don't necessarily have to worry about points, but an extra $2,000 sounds pretty good?
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna do what it takes to get wins. That's what we're here for. We got locked in last week, and like I said last week in the interview, now we're just going out here to get wins. And we started off pretty well this segment. Hope to continue. I want to give a shout out to my teammate Matthew Selby. Super proud of him. Happy for him. That's a big win to him. So congrats, Matthew.
And I want to follow that up.
Well, it was exciting nonetheless. Go ahead, Rusty.
I was just going to say, you and your teammate were dominant today. Was there something you guys found in the setup, the racetrack, to maybe collaborate and work on a dominant car or a dominant truck coming in today? Well, can you just talk us through where you found the speed in both of your cars for Stewart-Haas Esports?
Actually, that's what's crazy is we tried each other's stuff, and like we were 2 or 3 tenths off the pace with each other's trucks. So I like to where I don't have to turn the wheel. I go in there and use the seam to turn the truck, and I kind of just keep the wheel straight to where he likes to go in there and keep the wheel turned to the left and drive the truck. I like to, just let it drive itself. So that there's a big difference between the way we drive this track. So it was pretty interesting. We were able to get the same speed out of 2 complete different trucks.
Well, you'd said it there. It looked like your truck did drive itself because no one had anything for you tonight at Eldora. So, Brandon, again, congratulations on another win here in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League.
Thank you. I'd like to shout out Outlaw Nation once again, Stewart-Haas. It's your bro Chase, AJ Storm. He helped me a lot last week. And once again, got to give the credit to the man upstairs. So, appreciate y'all for doing this. See y'all next week.
Awesome. Once again, congratulations to Brandon Gritton. And then again, his teammate as well, Matthew Selby, collecting both of the wins here tonight for Stewart-Haas Esports. And we've got those team standings here for you guys that we talked about a little bit earlier as well, to double check those points. So team standings overall, again, not necessarily playing into locking anyone into that championship finale, but more or less for bragging rights. Jermaine Gaming up on top there, that 450. Yeah, but don't look now. Here comes Stewart-Haas Esports sweeping those wins this evening. That had to help a little bit in padding that. Chip Ganassi Gaming sitting there in the 4th spot. They've been slowly reeling in some good runs as well. And you've got Roush Fenway Gaming here at the tail end of the 7, looking to move their way up as well, Rusty.
Yeah, we're taking a look here at RCR Esports back in 8th. I thought that we would get a little bit better performance out of them this season. Levi Family Gaming, also another team I thought we'd see higher in the team standings because Josh Harbin is always on it. Petty Esports has been performing better each and every week. So these guys could move up the field like we have seen some of the other teams do, but I would like to see a little bit more out of Hendrick Motorsports and Junior Motorsports Gaming there.
Yeah, absolutely. A combined points effort for both of them. That's what makes it difficult here is, again, we're racing on a singular platform here, each of these drivers, while teammates racing for their own shot to race for that championship. So those team points really reflecting both platforms. So one may have a good day and the other one may not so much. And so overall, those points reflect that in total. So Rusty, we saw a lot of action tonight. We saw Stewart-Haas maybe break through. I think they'll be the ones to watch here in the 3rd segment. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, they definitely sent a message to the rest of the field here today. Just absolute domination. Brandon Gritton, your defending champion. Holy cow, watch out, because like I said, he's got the speed, but now he's getting the finishes, so he's putting a lot of pressure on the PlayStation 4 side. But I was just overall very impressed by how clean and competitive today's race was at Eldora, because they're in the dirt, slipping and sliding, and they managed to put on a good show and a competitive show.
And we've got more racing action coming up next week as we get ready to go out to the West Coast. We're going to Fontana next week for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. We will be back. Once again, we're back on Wednesday nights now moving forward. So it'll be Wednesday, July 8th at Fontana. We're looking forward to going there on the high banks out in California. A little sunshine. It's been hot here in the Carolinas. I know that, but probably a little less chance of rain because it's always beautiful here in the virtual world of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, right, Rusty?
Yeah, we're setting ourselves up for a fantastic and dramatic event at Fontana. It could come down to the final lap like it has been all season long. So I just can't wait to go racing again. I wish we could fire them up right now and head to the virtual Fontana racetrack.
Well, thanks to all of our competitors again for joining us here tonight on the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Congratulations to Stewart-Haas Esports, Matthew Selby, and Brandon Gritton, and our friends over at Motorsports Games for working tirelessly through all of our little technical things here and there. We appreciate it as broadcasters, and thank you, Rusty, for joining me once again this week here on the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. We will see you guys next week as we go racing at Fontana.
cold metal with hot rubber at the corners, a chariot of thundering fury. The difference between you and your rivals isn't just the war paint traded in battle, it's more. Refuse to lose. NASCAR Heat 5.